This is D-Lo 404 Boxing and More. Want to say shout out to the LDBC. Want to say welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome back to the channel to repeat viewers, as well as my subscribers. Want to say thank you for your viewership. What I want to talk about is all of these fights that are available to be made across the board. And I'm talking about from, the lower weights, like lightweight, all the way up to heavyweight. There are too many guys in the rankings, and I'm talking about, number 15 to number 1, or to the champions, that are, guys are just not fighting one another. There's too much of that jockeying for position and too much strategizing between the promoters and the sanctioning body organizations, and trying to confuse and trick the fans, and it's just too much stuff going on that suggests that people, or should I say fighters, just aren't daring to fight the guys they should be fighting on a consistent basis. I mean, it's too many guys standing around remaining stagnant as far as fighting guys that are considered on their level based on rankings, while, waiting to get a title shot, or whether they're, waiting for a big money fight or whatever they're doing. And I'm not saying these guys aren't being active at all, which in some cases they aren't being active. They are not being active. But what I'm saying is guys that, just say guys may be ranked like number 4, they're fighting some guy that's not even registered in the top 15, top 20, top 30, while trying to maintain their status as number 4 or improve it to number 3 or 2 or whatever. But it's like, for me as a boxing fan, I don't want to see some guy that's ranked number 2 or 3 looking way down the rankings for an opponent, or pulling some guy up from a lower weight division as an opponent to pad his resume or pad his win-loss record, while there's a guy right below him that doesn't have a fight, and that fight could be made right away. I mean, it's just, for years we bought into this, where it's just the politics of boxing. These promoters aren't getting along. They're not making fights with one another. It's the network, it's the Cold War between the networks and so forth and so on. And we bought into that, and we just gave these guys a pass, and we fell for that excuse. But the reality is, we are the consumer. We need to demand that these fights will be getting made. I mean, it doesn't make sense that we're having to argue and debate back and forth about who will win fights between guys like Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Guys like Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Terrence Crawford, Mikey Garcia, Lomachenko, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. I mean, even guys like Dominic Breazeale and Dillian White, or Luis Ortiz versus any of the other top heavyweights. I mean, the fact that we're having to go back and forth and debate about this stuff as if these guys aren't fighting in the same era, and as if they're not active at the same time, is ridiculous. And I mean, I just named a handful of guys, a handful of, potential fights, but I mean, it's just boxing right now. The boxing landscape is littered with situations like that, where you got guys number 1 through 10 right below the champion, and none of the guys are really fighting each other. And I mean, and that just hurts the state of boxing. And what I'm saying is, as long as that type of behavior and type of movement is tolerated and accepted by the fans, the sport of boxing is going to continue to decline. I mean, right now in 2018, we've had a pretty good year, a pretty good bounce back year for the sport of boxing. Keith Thurman said it was going to be his get back year. He hadn't got back into the sport yet, but it was a pretty good get back year for the sport of boxing as a whole, in my opinion. People are interested. People who aren't avid boxing fans like us are interested in the sport of boxing, and they're taking notice and they're waiting for something to happen. They're hearing us talk about stuff. They're seeing us talk about it on forums, on Facebook, YouTube, on other social media platforms like Twitter. And they start to notice, and they're seeing the buzz, and then they start to get interested in what's going on. But the last thing we want is for the casual boxing fans, because let's face it, the casual boxing fans outnumber avid boxing fans by many. So they are the lion's share of the consumer. When the pay-per-views do big numbers, it's because the pay-per-view brought in the casuals. When Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather broke the records, they broke the records because the casual fans came out and bought that fight. So the last thing we want is for the casuals to get interested in boxing, and then all of a sudden, when they're interested and think that it's about to heat up and really turn into something exciting, then all of a sudden, the rug gets pulled out from under them, and it's like, oh yeah, it's not going to be what you thought it was going to be. This is what you get. I know we promised, fireworks, but we just got Roman candles. So that's the danger of getting the casuals excited, or getting, John Q. public interested in what's going on in the sport of boxing, only to let them down, only to let us down. So my whole point is the contenders, the second tier titleists, the champions, who name you, these guys have to get busy fighting one another. And I know I made a similar video about this, talking about the heavyweights, but this extends far beyond just the heavyweight division. These guys have to get busy fighting one another. Stop just sitting around waiting on a title shot. Stop sitting around waiting on a big money fight, and just get busy fighting. This is what their job is. They're boxers. This is the sport they're supposedly in love with. There's a reason they got involved in it. I mean, they are supposed to be out there making the best fights for their fans. And as long as it sits the way it is right now, as long as it sits the way it currently sits, I don't see boxing moving but so far ahead. And then it's going to get to a high water mark, and it's just going to stay there. Or either it's going to teeter off and start to decline again. But my hopes are that things continue to progress forward, and the sport of boxing continues to grow, not just in the U.S., but worldwide. Because it's a great sport, but it's only as great as what's going on at a given time. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this, but I appreciate the viewership. I'm out.